Hey there, neighbors and naysayers. January 21st. Glenn Finney again. After watching some videos here the last couple of days, Rayland, Ohio, eastern Ohio, right across the river from Wheeling, West Virginia. I just noticed on some videos I was watching about virtual fencing that they didn't say where they were from. So if it gets picked up, no one really knows. Anyway, it's about 4 degrees. It was -4 this morning. It's supposed to be -10 at the news station tonight, which means it'll be about -15, -20 here. I love global warming. If you ever noticed, if they ask anybody, here I'm gonna get up on my soapbox. If you ever ask anybody in the country, they'll realize that everybody in the country's temperature is always 4 or 5 degrees below what the news says it is. And then we get them studies that come out and say we're a degree warmer or 2 degrees warmer or 3 degrees warmer than we ever been. We ever think maybe it's because the temperatures are taken in news stations that have cities built up around them since they started taking those temperatures, and the pavement in the cities keeping the temperature up. Just a little food for thought. We take a little bit of that global warming here today. So I just turned on to show the sheep. As long as I'm moving, I'm not too cold. I can get by just fine. But we had snow off and on last week. If you really counted it up, we got about 10 inches on the ground, but of course it's melted down some. Then we had a thaw Friday, Saturday, had some rain on top of it. You can hear them kind of, that snow's kind of crunchy. There's no ice glaze on it, but it's kind of crunchy, and they just go through and dig it. 4 degrees. They all just followed me up the hill. I'll turn around and show you where we came from. So you can see that bale of hay down there. That's open for them to have hay, and they go down there and sleep at night around that bale ring, and dogs go down there. There's some water tubs right there by that hay ring that we'll fill every day. And then this, of course, is where we were yesterday. It looks like pigs have been out here and rooted through that snow and found the grass. Again, these guys just got half a bucket of soy hull pellets mixed with a half a bucket of molasses, liquid molasses. You can see some of those faces are all covered in molasses. That's just a flushing feed, but also right now we're kind of ready to quit, but we're doing it just to keep up energy to get through this cold snap that we're having right now. But they willingly left those pellets and molasses to come up here and graze, followed right behind me. In fact, I had to stand down there at the water trough for a little while to see if anybody would want to drink, but nobody drank except the dogs. But we're giving them 32 by 263 feet. Of course, there's only 40 ewes in this group, but ticking right along, getting enough grass, looking good. The fact that we got dry hay in there has really cleaned them up a bunch. I noticed here tonight some of them are tagged, and those are ones that have been treated for worms. They're on the list to go to town in the spring, but even they're picking up condition. We treated them this fall, and even they're picking up condition at this point. So we'll go ahead and let them lamb, and then in the fall we'll get rid of them. But just wanted to show, how the wind's picking up, and we're supposed to get some snow, an inch or so of snow tonight, but just to show winter grazing can happen even at these cold temperatures. Nobody seems to care. The dogs find a place to hunker down, and really the dogs could go back to the barn if they want. If anybody's watching and says, "Oh, what a shame," they all could go back to the barn if they wanted to. They won't. The sheep would tell me if they need to go back to the barn. They don't. They're fine. And I love this weather. I get posts all the time. Boy, you're an idiot if you leave your pets out. Well, these aren't pets. They're partners of mine, and they willingly stay out here. This is what they're bred for. They're bred to be out here in this cold. When you look in the morning where those dogs laid, there'll be a thawed out patch of ground right there where they laid because they're so warm, and the hair they have on them so warm. Like I said, any of the three of these, with the exception probably of Petunia, the one sitting there in the middle, she probably wouldn't go back to the barn. Although if she was really cold or really scared, she does. But the other two, they roam around a bunch. The Great Pyrenees will roam constantly. and they don't go back to the barn, not in this. Rain might send her back to the barn, but snow doesn't. This is their kind of weather, but it's just amazing to me that those sheep go along and they find those open spots in the snow, and then they just start digging and dig and dig and dig until they get what they want. And when the thaw happened the other day, there was still snow on the ground when we moved them, and then it thawed, and the sheep never even came up in the snow to dig around. They went down and ate the leftover from what was left from where the snow had been the last several days, because it melted a lot faster because the sheep had stirred it up. And then they came back and ate it later on the afternoon. But you could see the line, even up until the next afternoon, you could see the line of where the fence was the night before. Kind of a weird deal. They just would rather go pick. But I was really surprised when it melted off, there wasn't a whole bunch left. Like, I was figuring, well, we may have to back fence them when this thaws off, graze them back through this area again, because there's going to be a bunch left over. There really isn't. It's not worth coming back for. So they're really doing it. And I know I've said this before, but my cousin lives on the hill above this place, and he can look down on the sheep at some points, and he says, in the wintertime, I always know where the sheep are because the field's a different color. And then if it snows, you can always see, because that field thaws off faster. You can always see where the snow's messed up, where the sheep have been. They're amazing animals as far as finding forage, and we're finding out the cows are just as good, not as good, but they're close. They tell me sheep will close their eyes and eat through the snow. A cow's not smart enough to close their eyes, and I hope we don't get enough snow to find that out, but that's what they tell me. So it's just really cool to come up here at 4 degrees, and yeah, it's cold, and yeah, it sucks, but it's nice to come up here and do this. We had to take a bale out to the cows tonight, not because bale grazing isn't working, but because the cows were far enough away from the frost-free water that the frost-free water froze. They're not coming often enough to keep it thawed. So in trying to do that, we just took a bale out, unrolled it right there by the water. That'll give them something to lay on too, so it's not that big a deal. We sacrifice a bale kind of to just keep them down there, down to the water trough, and keep it thawed up. But interesting times. I mean, I said last night, anybody was complaining about 90-degree heat last summer, this is the reverse of that, so you can complain about this too. And I love the meme that went around on Facebook this last week of, if you've ever said you're going to do something when hell freezes over, your appointment for that's Tuesday, and today is Tuesday. So with that, I'll say we'll see you next time.